Now as promised, today we're taking a look at some more horror games to play this season. If this is your first video, this is actually a continuation of my horror games list. This time we're gonna dive right into some AAA horror games to see what they got in store for us. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Dre, welcome back to the channel. Let's jump into the video, but before we do, cue that intro.
Fair warning, this is gonna be weirder than usual.
Now hear me out. Control isn't specifically a horror game per se, but it still hits all the sweet spots we're looking for this season. It draws its inspiration from the meta of SCP lore, with its setting itself being featured as an impossibly large interior. Adding to the freaky atmosphere is an otherworldly creature possessing humans who attempt to cross over in our universe. This Lovecraftian tale, mixed with a little ESP, pairs quite well with a hot cup of pumpkin spice, and a season or two of Stranger Things. You'll get your fair share of creepy in this installment, even if it does lean more towards the action side of things. Check it out. The Evil Within is a gem if you're a fan of uneven odds in your horror games, much like a Silent Hill, but not so helpless that you can't fight back when it comes time to. That being said, it never gets to a point where you're straight up drowning enemies in bullets. A big part of the gameplay loop of Evil Within is knowing when not to engage so as to properly manage your resources. Nothing too groundbreaking here, but it never gets to the point where you're frustratingly overwhelmed. There are many options to deal with enemies, but stealth and often running away are your best bets. If you're a fan of the Silent Hill era of games but don't shy away from the more action-oriented Resident Evil titles, then this could be a satisfying balancing act for you to try. Check it out. Now before we jump to the next title on this list, be sure to like this video, it helps the channel out a ton, and subscribe for more content like this. Back to the video. Dying Light was a fresh take on the survival horror genre that many, much like myself, were very keen on. Some games try to shy away from the pack by way of an entertaining gimmick, or they may lean heavily into the tropes or expectations of the genre as best as they can. But Dying Light manages to introduce a satisfying gameplay mechanic into a genre that you wouldn't expect it to work this well in. In games concerning zombies, we're used to being surrounded by either the hobbling Dawn of the Dead types or the more recent agile World War Z types. Either one usually forces us to navigate around them, inevitably getting backed into a tight corner, or mow through them with heavy weaponry. Here in Dying Light though, we get another option that should honestly be second nature: running away. We have a wide open world separated into day and night cycles with various enemies that we can fight off with our makeshift weapons. But nothing is more satisfying than doing parkour, wall running, sliding, or just completely outmaneuver enemies as they chase you through the streets or up the side of a building. Sure, it may cut into some of the horror aspect, but the survival aspect is turned up to 100. But there are still plenty of opportunities to scare yourself shitless once nighttime approaches. Condemned Criminal Origins is an Xbox 360 and PC exclusive and somewhat of a hidden gem. It's garnered much praise over the years but hardly gets the love it really deserves for the quality experience it creates. It differs from most horror games, especially for its time, in that as far as weapons go, guns are fairly scarce and you will actually rely on melee weapons far more often. As the game is set in first person, this means majority of the time is spent up close and personal with a bevy of serial killers and deranged citizens that are chasing you. The sparse lighting and tight urban sections make for intense scenarios where enemies can chase, flee, hide from, or even ambush you. Oftentimes, you'll find yourself ripping pipes from walls in order to break the nose of a lunatic trying to maim you in a narrow corridor. I can't recommend this game enough for the uninitiated, and even if you do remember this game from back in the day, it's still well worth the replay. Now these games didn't make the list, but they're still worth the mention. Check them out. Now, Resident Evil as a series has had its fair shares of ups and downs, but I think it's safe to say that the franchise has hit its stride as far as their mainline games go. Starting with RE7, the franchise saw itself pivot away from the more action-oriented entries like 5 and 6, and even distancing itself from the beloved balancing act of 4 in favor of a more tight-knit first-person horror experience. This went well with the gaming world's desire of what could have been with Kojima's PT demo, but Capcom definitely added their own flair to the formula. As with 7, the pace with RE8 starts off slowly, but then gradually picks up and matches the intensity of the action in 5 and 6, but without sacrificing the horror-based elements that remain at its core. The expansion of the lore and the variety of infections present add some much welcome changes to the scenery, as there are glimpses of many classic monster archetypes here, such as werewolves, vampires, but the undead undoubtedly reign supreme, as usual in the certifiable gem in the Resident Evil catalog. Side note, there's actually an expansion available right now, which is the Winter's expansion that you guys can check out. It adds more story to RE8, which I think is pretty phenomenal. I like it. This expansion also has a new third-person mode for the game, which I think is pretty dope because I wasn't necessarily a fan of the first person. So this being added is making me very excited. Check it out. Now, which one of these games are you checking out this Halloween season? Comment below and let me know. Also, if you're new to the channel and you're looking for more content like this, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when we drop fresh content. Also, if you haven't seen my video about the top indie horror games to check out this Halloween season, that video will pop up right here. Thank you guys for watching. It's been your boy Dre, and like always, play on, play up. Peace.